Thanks for coming along, guys. My name's Iain Moran. I'm from CrowdGuard, and we provide hostile vehicle mitigation to events predominantly, and stadiums and various locations where you've got large gatherings of people in reality, to stop vehicles from driving into them spaces when you don't want the vehicles in there. We run a plan, provide, protect model, and I'm going to talk briefly today about what that is and how you can balance budget of providing security against the actual risk to make sure that you're putting proportionate measures and proportionate services in. So our incumbent plan, provide, protect model, we start off with helping you understand and determine what your threat and your risk is to a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device or a vehicle as a weapon attack on your crowded space. So if you're hosting an event and you've got a large number of people or an amount of people over 200 going forward and then over 800 in the Martin's Law enhanced tier, you'll need to start to understand what your risk and threat is against terrorist attack. And we can help you do that, but we specialise in hostile vehicle mitigation. There's other people in the Protect Alliance that specialise from a cyber perspective and other different aspects, and what we do is HVM. So we risk assess, we carry out vehicle dynamic assessments, we provide you with them specifications, and then we provide equipment and we deploy the equipment for you. So it's a full incumbent service that you can get from CrowdGuard to provide and supply your hostile vehicle mitigation. What's really, really critical is we've got many clients. Last year we deployed around 460 events in the UK. We own over 2 kilometres of kit that temporarily gets deployed at these events. And we now have a number of clients that were wasting money on hostile vehicle mitigation. They were spending too much money because they didn't understand what the risk was and what the threat level was that they needed to try to protect against. Working with people early allows them to understand what level of residual risk they're willing to accept. It's important because you can't eradicate threat and risk from every scenario, or any scenario really. So spend money wisely and do it proportionately. So Martin's Law, this is changing all the time, but it's just gone through its second round in the Commons and predicted to come into law probably before May of next year. And then at the present, there'll be a 2-year cooling off period, if you like, for people to start to get the ducks in a row to meet the obligations of Martin's Law and the Protect duty. It's now, standard duty is now 200 to 799 capacity. That's changed in the recent briefings. There's rumours that it may come back down. There's rumours that it may go up to 300. None of this is set in stone as yet. It is not law as yet. Anybody that tells you it is lying, but as an alliance, what we want to try to do is get people ready for when it does become law and what happens. So mandatory requirements, very cost effective, ensure that relevant workers receive the proportionate training, they understand counter-terrorism, so ACT training that you can do online, which is completely free of charge, run, hide, seek, run, hide, tell, understand terrorist evaluation of the event or the arena or the space that you're having to protect against. When you get to the enhanced duty of 800 plus people capacity, and that's deemed that you might have a capacity that's 10,000, but if you're only hosting events that you can prove on a regular occurrence only have 400 or 500 attendees, well, A, you're at the wrong venue, but B, you can prove that you're less than 800, so you don't fall into that 800 enhanced capacity. But once you're in that type of venue, you will need to legally employ somebody as a responsible person. Somebody will be responsible for understanding the requirements of the law and how to protect against a terrorist attack and what to do if a terrorist attack should happen. That may be the Chief Executive Officer of a local authority, it may be the Head of Safety Security at a stadium like we're in today, but somebody will be the responsible person. If the worst was to happen and when the dust settles and someone's in the dock, it's that responsible person that'll be there. That's going to be a big change for a lot of people. You'll have to complete and regularly review terrorism risk assessments and consider the types of terrorist attack that may happen. Were hostile vehicles, Chris's cyber, you've got various different people who provide the training here to help you understand what you need to do if the worst was to happen. So you'll also need to keep and maintain a security plan against any form of terrorist attack that could be prevalent to your venue or your event. So it's a lot of changes that a lot of event organisers are going to need to be used to they're going to have to get used to. And in our specialist niche area, we want to help people reduce the cost as much as possible by helping you understand what your proportionate threat and risks are. So understanding threat and risk. So threat and risk, they're not the same things. The risk is the chance of something happening, or your venue, your event, your stadium being targeted by somebody to cause damage, to cause harm, to injure people. The threat is how are they going to do that, yeah? So you have a risk, your risk may be low, it may be medium, it may be high, and you have a threat, and that threat may be a cyber attack, it may be a vehicle as a weapon attack. If it's a vehicle as a weapon attack, the environmental constraints may mean it's only a 1,500 kilogram vehicle at 20 miles an hour. It may mean it's a 30,000 kilogram vehicle at 50 miles an hour, like we've seen at the Christmas markets in Germany and like we've seen in Nice a number of years ago. So threat and risk, different things. Tying the threat and risk together allows you to understand a proportionate approach of what you need to do, and it allows you to understand what level of residual risk you'd be left with if you did nothing, which is always an option, and that can be prevalent and can be the right thing to do sometimes, or you did X, Y, or Z, and we can provide you with them different options and then different levels of security for your event. It must always meet an operational requirement, and putting a physical HVM barrier in place is just one part of the aspect. It buys you time if the worst was to happen. You should always have a process after that if an attack has happened. That allows you to make informed decisions, and we talk about budget with people. Usually we're at a starting point of, we've got no money to do any of this. Our average gestation turnaround with people engaging with CrowdGuard 18 months ago, we'd get a phone call and we'd be deploying 3 days later. Yeah, that was how quick, because the police, CTSAs, SECOs had started to enforce that people must do this, but nobody allocated any budget to do it. People are starting to budget for these types of things now. The educational message is getting across. It's almost, lots of authorities and lots of event spaces work differently, but if an authority is renting an event space out to somebody, you'll start to see authorities putting their prices up because they're incorporating HVM as the landowner. Some authorities are leaving it to the event organiser to determine the level of hostile vehicle mitigation they may need to put in. So engage with us and we can help you understand that, so we end up with proportionality and proportionate solutions. That's what drives your costs down. It's hardcore equipment. There's a number of different solutions behind you that it's that easy to, get out there and deploy. It's on level 4 in the Cardiff City Stadium. Each of the products behind you will all stop a 7.5 ton vehicle at 30 miles an hour, and you can wheel them in and out of place, no problem, to protect your roles to your event. HVM can be deployed under an ATRO, which is an anti-terrorism policing traffic regulation order, or a standard TTRO at present. Yeah. No matter where your event space is, there's a large number of stakeholders involved. Event organisers, councils, police, SECOs, CTSAs, traffic management companies, security companies. It's about getting all them people around the table so everybody understands each piece of the puzzle that everybody's going to deliver, really. And that's how you end up with a best value, proportionate solution. So key things to consider, where do you need to install hostile vehicle mitigation on an approach to a crowded space, an event space? What are your options? Lots of different products on the market, lots of them do very similar things, lots of them have lots of idiosyncrasies. Think about your pedestrian permeability, think about the aesthetic of how you want your event space to look. It does vary. Some events like to look like Fort Knox. Some events want to be a lot more welcoming. You're going with your wife, your husband, your kids, and you're going into a Christmas market. You don't want it to look like you're going into Fort Knox, so to speak. Understanding what the products do and how they perform, to then marry that to what your risk and what your threat is to make sure you're getting the right solution. Can it actually provide some savings somewhere? It can replace traffic management in some instances, and also most products that are deployed, they give you very large branding space. We protect the All England Tennis Club for Wimbledon, for the Wimbledon event 2 weeks of the year, and PIMS pay to advertise on the Surface Guard solution, and the hostile vehicle mitigation actually generates revenue for them. So varying different ways how these things can be avoided. Temporary HVM is a cost per deployment basis. You deploy it as and when it's needed when you've got an event in place. Versatile for the changing needs, and the aesthetic options can be different. Key things to consider are you still need to get people into your event, and in case of an evacuation you still need to get people out of your event, as well as allowing them first respondent vehicles, police, fire, ambulance into that event space if you need to. So staffing and operating these positions is very, very important. When we come to more fixed locations, and you're starting to see this with a lot more local authorities who hire out event spaces, it's kind of a fixed space in the city centre or within a park or wherever it may be, and there's semi-permanent solutions that can be installed as a one-off capital cost then, and then they can lease that area as a secure, certified environment protected against a hostile vehicle or a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. Civil installation is required here, so it's much less flexible than temporary fully surface mounted solutions, but as we engage more and more with people who repeat, think Glastonbury's held in the same place every single year, to hire equipment every year, you get to a point of about 3 years where it becomes uncost intuitive really. So to put permanent and semi-permanent measures is a much more value added perspective over a larger period of time. After semi-permanent HVM, you've got that permanent HVM option. It's there all the time, 365 days a year, all year round. You can still allow access in and out of city centres, you can still allow loading into them spaces, you can still allow and control authorised vehicles, but it's constantly there. It's an all year round type thing. Might be a lot of local people from Cardiff here, hell a lot of HVM in Cardiff that I've worked on in the past myself, all through the city centre, all around the St David's shopping centres and the stadium. Complete lockdown of the cities available here in Cardiff. They were very advanced in doing it when the St David's shopping centres were built. It kind of coincided, phase 2 was with the 2012 Olympic Games, and because they were hosting some of the low-cog events for the Olympics at the Millennium Stadium, they got a lot of funding to put hostile vehicle mitigation in around the city. So that was 12 years ago that Cardiff were thinking about it. There's a number of cities just as advanced in the UK. There's a number that are nothing like as advanced of what you've got on your doorstep here in Cardiff. As I said, what HVM does, it provides you with time. It's a barrier where you stop in your vehicle. Unfortunately, and in the UK specifically, our biggest form of threat to these events is a bladed weapon style attack. And even with a vehicle as a weapon style attack that you've seen at Westminster Bridge and London Borough Market, they've got that secondary method of attack methodology where they're carrying knives when they get out of the vehicle. All of our deployments, we work with a non-profit charity, Rapid, and we have Stop the Bleed kits every single deployment that we do. So if the worst was to happen and there was a secondary attack methodology with a bladed weapon, the Stop the Bleed kits, which were part of the Martin's Law review, was that lives could have been saved if there was tourniquet kits and more of them available at these particular areas in time. So all our staff in trained to deploy in these, but the beauty about these and similar, the similar packs to this, they all come with instructions inside. So the theory being that anybody from the general public could open one and stop somebody from bleeding out by using this equipment. That's kind of nearly all of it. Work with experts. If you're needing to consider HVM or you're needing to understand your threat, vulnerability and risk to an event that you're putting on or to a space that you have, get in touch with us, and we will explain to you how you can save money, do the proportionate thing and meet your operational requirements, yeah? Operation and budget are absolutely critical. Don't let anybody tell you, and there's a couple of ex-coppers certainly in the crowd, don't let anybody tell you, you have to do this, you have to do that, you must put 7.5 tonne at 50 mile an hour protection in. The reality is you don't. You can accept residual risk, but you need to understand what risk you're accepting. That's how you drive the cost down and put the correct measures in that also meet your operational requirements, because if they don't win at all and it just ends up being a wide open space. So start thinking about these things, be prepared for Martin's Law. It's still a moving beast probably for another 6 months, hopefully not another 6 years, but we've been protecting over 400 events over the last number of years without Martin's Law being a law, because people have got a responsibility to protect people that are attending events. And I'll just finish on the HVM it's much more cost effective than what you probably perceive it to be. There's a massive perception that this type of equipment is very, very expensive. To give some examples, we protect every event at Murrayfield Stadium for Scottish Rugby Now granted, that's a 70,000 seater stadium, but the HVM all year round on a year-long contract costs them 3 pence per fan per fixture. So 3 pence per attendee. I'm done. Thank you very much. Cheers for listening. Thank you.